5 signs she's wife material. If you're a man and you want to find the right girlfriend or wife, you have to be aware of certain red flags that we're going to cover today. If you don't learn to pay attention to these red flags, you will end up in your second, first, third divorce. You will lose a ton of money, a ton of time. You will sustain trauma. I'm not the biggest believer in trauma because I don't think there's permanent damage. Heartbreak, by the way, isn't real. Pain is real, permanent damage isn't. But I don't want you to have to go through this. You will suffer unnecessarily and eternally if you don't figure this out. And then I'm going to give you green flags to screen for that will allow you to spot a woman who could make for an amazing wife. Number 1, the first red, and then the opposite being the green flag. Insecurity. Is she deeply secure within herself, or is she insecure? And a lot of women who pretend to be very secure and very confident are actually deeply insecure. Real confidence is quiet. To be honest, you might say, David, you're not very confident, then you're very loud. Yeah, I get that. But actually, confidence exists independent of volume. You can be very loud and confident. You can be very quiet and confident. It has nothing to do with that. So how does insecurity actually manifest itself? I was married to a woman who wasn't right for me. She's not a bad person, but she'd get offended very easily. She would assume negative intent. If she didn't know how I meant something, she would assume negative intent. Look, this is a real story. I'm sitting on a plane with her going to Barcelona, and she's a good, kind person. We have a daughter together, right? I'm just using this as an example. We're sitting on a plane, going to Barcelona together, and I look to the back to see if the person behind me has maybe a hot meal, and then I'm about to put my seat back, right? To recline. And then she goes, no, you can't do that. She grabs my hand. I was like, what? No, you can't do that. You have to ask permission first. I said, no, I don't have to ask permission to recline my seat. I checked. Obviously, want to make sure that I'm not going to spill hot tomato soup on the passenger behind me, obviously. But then, once it was clear, I can just recline my seat without asking for permission. I'm trying to be a respectful, courteous person. Of course, I want to be a functioning member of society, but I don't have to do that. Me and her did not speak for the entire duration of the flight because she got so offended that I wouldn't listen to her, which is the second red flag, control, trying to grasp for control. So let's map the first one and the second one towards a green flag. If a woman is really secure within herself, she's happy. Her default emotional home is happy. She assumes positive intent if she didn't know how you meant something. She would support you. She'd be on your side. She wouldn't be on a random person's side if there was a little conflict. There wasn't even conflict. Everything was fine between me and him. But she anticipated the conflict, and in her mind, she already put herself on his side. Very strange behavior. You have to understand that good people can act really weird. There's good women in the world who can make your life a living hell because you're not compatible, okay? This is not about just externalizing and saying women are toxic, men are toxic. It's not about that. You want to assume the responsibility for your own actions and reflect on your own behavior and say, where can I act better as a human being, as a man? I ask Fernanda regularly every 3 to 6 months. How can I do better in this relationship? Am I treating you well? And this usually gives me 1 or 2 minor points. David, would be nice if you XYZ. Cool. And then I really make that a minor mission of mine to actually pay attention to that. So, is she secure within herself? Number 1. Number 2, is she trying to control you? Now, you might say, well, I wouldn't want her to go to nightclubs while we're in a relationship. Am I, as a man, not controlling? It's only controlling if she's asking you to do things, or if you are asking her to do things you don't want to do. So, if she's a person who wants to go to nightclubs, that could be a red flag in and of itself, then don't tell her not to do that. Find a woman who doesn't want to go to nightclubs. Stop trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, as Steve Jobs would say. The biggest reason for conflicts in relationships is an absolute and utter lack of compatibility. It is not because people are evil, because no matter how thin you slice it, there's always 2 sides. But if you're not compatible, you're going to argue about silly things. If she's deeply insecure, even though a good person, she's going to take offense. She's going to try to grasp for control because her need for certainty is not met. She's addicted to certainty and she can't give it to herself. Therefore, she's trying to control everyone around them. And you've done that. And I've done that. But where does she live? Everyone can act selfish and stupid at times. You and I, we've done that. But where does she live 95% of the time? If you have a woman who's naturally secure within herself, who doesn't feel the need to control, she won't be overly jealous. Coming back to the nightclub example, if you don't want her to go, that's not controlling. She'll naturally won't want to go. If she's asking you to do things you don't want to do, well, then it becomes controlling. A different paradigm, a different lens to look at the idea of controlling through is that we're all controlling. It's not whether or not we're controlling, it's how controlling are we. We're all trying to control each other's behaviors. You're trying to control your friends' behaviors, your parents' behaviors. Maybe you're trying to get your parents to stop smoking. I'm trying to do that with my mom. Rather unsuccessfully so, I must say. Is that me trying to control her? In a way, yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. The only question is, do I still love her if she's doing the things that I don't want her to do? Now, I would never be able to be in a relationship or get married to Fernanda if she kept smoking. Not kept smoking, she doesn't smoke. If she were to start smoking. But I can love my mom. I won't love her any less just because she smokes. It just hurts me to see how she's hurting herself. But the person you're going to have an intimate relationship with, you have to be so aligned. What are your religious beliefs? What are your political beliefs? What are your core values? Because the aforementioned too, they're just a manifestation thereof. If you don't have absolute clarity as a man, what you stand for, what you stand against, what must never be said about you at your funeral, you will never be able to find a woman you're truly compatible with, because your reticular activating system, your selective focus, won't even be able to spot the person. That's why you suck at reading red flags. You need to learn to read these red flags. And it can be difficult when we're in it, when we're emotionally engaged, when we have really good chemistry with a woman, because we've had this, right? You can have amazing chemistry, an amazing connection with a woman who has all these red flags. It can feel amazing, but she's not right for you, and there's absolutely zero future in it. If you want to find the right woman to share life with, it's not even that you're looking for amazing things. You're looking for an absence of red flags. And then you have to engage the head as well as the heart. Logically, it has to make sense. You write down your lists of must-haves, nice-to-haves, and deal breakers. And then you have to feel emotionally drawn to her. The problem is, the reason you haven't been able to figure this out, the reason you are now 30, 40, 50 years of age and still single is because you lack a skill set. All of your relationships have failed. Now, very important. I don't believe in failed. I don't believe in regret. I mean, depends on which lens we use to look at it, right? The ability, or rather the mark of an educated mind, is the ability to entertain a thought without immediately accepting it. So in one way, you should have zero regrets because they all taught you something. Feeling bad about it doesn't help. But you have to acknowledge that evidently you suck at this dating game. Maybe you're getting some dates. Maybe you're getting dates with women who are physically attractive. Maybe you're getting no dates. There is a clear delta because dating success is very binary. You either are in a happy and fulfilling relationship or you're not. If you're not, there's mindset problems and a lack of skill. That's it. This whole thing can be boiled down to mindset problems and a lack of skill. There's nothing wrong with who you are. If you're a kind, hardworking, good man who'd treat her well, the product who you are is fantastic. It's just the marketing skill and the mindset sucks. Getting back to the red or green flags. Is she allowing you and encouraging you and supporting you on your journey? Be that your job, your business, charities, your hobbies. Or does she get offended when you work a lot? My mother and my father, they're both amazing people. I'm extremely fortunate to have an amazing relationship with both of them. They eventually got a divorce many years ago because they also weren't compatible. Guess what? Most people, by the way, who are in relationships are truly not compatible. And I remember coming home from school as a child, and my mother would complain about the fact that my dad is at work. Now, in hindsight, I'm like, Mother, he was providing. The reason we were able to eat is because the man was providing. He was breaking us back. He was working so hard as a doctor in Germany, right? And my mom is amazing. I love her beyond infinity. She's the most caring, loving person. The only reason I'm able to have any sort of relationship in my life is because of, there's basically two words she always said to me, which is sei lieb, which is be kind, be kind, be kind. Amazing for friendships, not so much for intimate relationships, because obviously you want to be kind. Obviously, as Professor Scott Galloway talks about, women want a man who's kind, but there's more to it. But my mom would always complain about the fact that my father would come home late from work. That is called a lack of compatibility. You should not be in a relationship with a woman, or as a man, you should not be in a relationship with a woman who wants a regular 9 to 5 if you're somebody whose schedule is a little bit more intense. Whether you're young and ambitious or older and successful, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong. You just got to find somebody you're truly compatible with. But she should be encouraging you, and she should be proud of you. I love my job. I'm extremely fortunate. I believe I have one of the best jobs in the whole world. I get to teach dating and personal development and relationships for a living. I get to coach amazing clients. I've done so from 45 different countries from all around the world. I meet extremely exciting people. Right now I'm in Dubai. Usually I'm in Dublin. I'm going to be in Miami in a couple of weeks. And the conversations I get to have are amazing. So, work, David, you call this work? Yeah, I love it. It's amazing. But a 14, 15-hour day sometimes does get long. I don't work that much every day, obviously, but some days it's intense. And then when I'm sitting there bleeding out of my eyes after tons of calls, and I love it, I'm a little bit physically exhausted, the body's a bit wrecked, even though I'm emotionally deeply fulfilled, Fernanda comes to me and goes, I'm so proud of you. Oh, my heart. Don't you want that? Don't you want to have a woman who comes to you and goes, I am so proud of you. Thank you. As opposed to judging you for working so much? So, is she supportive? Is she caring? Or, if we inverse it, if we look at the opposite, is she judging you? If you feel constantly judged by her for who you are, don't be in a relationship with her. The next red flag, a lack of genuine burning desire. A woman can like you 5 out of 10, or she can like you 10 out of 10. How much desire does she have for you? There are some women who are going to date you and even end up in a relationship and even in a marriage with you who have a 5 out of 10 level compatibility with you. You want somebody who has a 9, 10 out of 10 level compatibility and desire for you. Does she want you? Yeah, he's cool. Or does she really want you? We've all seen public and private examples of women who don't really like their husband. They like him a little bit. They like him enough to keep him around and then maybe cheat on his ass. Or at the very least, not be in a fulfilling and loving relationship, but they don't actually really want them. You gotta find somebody who really, really likes you. Fernanda looks at me. I mean, look, I'm extremely confident, but I also know, I have a healthy degree of humility, I would say. She looks at me like I'm way more attractive than I am. I'm a ginger. I'm aware. I know my place in the world, okay? If you grow up a ginger in the West, you're not considered the pinnacle of male attractiveness. I know it doesn't matter, but she loves it. You gotta find somebody who looks at you and goes, wow. And by the way, how attractive you are perceived largely comes down to your level of communication. Because what women know about you, several studies have shown, drastically influences how you are perceived. So, how does she find things out about you? Through communication. And you suck at communicating with women. You might be great at communicating in your work, in your business, in your career, in a professional manner, but you suck at communicating with women. You're boring. You have various blind spots in your communication, which cause the right women, the ones you actually like, you know exactly which ones I'm talking about, to lose interest in you. I don't know. The text just got shorter and shorter. I thought the date went well. Blind spots in your communication. You could have it. You are so close to a fulfilling relationship. You're 3 months, 6 months away from finding somebody truly amazing, but you are too arrogant. You have too big of an ego. You think you're all right. You think you're already doing fine. No, you're not. And by the way, you can do really well in so many areas. But if you're not in a fulfilling relationship right now and you want to be, there is a delta. If you do not address the delta, nothing will change. And we'll have the same conversation in a year, 5 or 10. You're going to keep getting into these 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half long relationships that all fail because you were never compatible to begin with. Next red flag. How much attention does she need and want from other men? In other words, the green flag would be she's totally, perfectly, happily content with just the attention from you and maybe her close family and a couple of friends. That's it. She does not need a public Instagram where she shows herself. And by the way, I am not judging women. Please understand this. I have zero judgment, zero hate in my heart, honestly, towards women who do this. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Live life. Truly, I mean it. Individual happiness above everything. But if you don't want that because it may be indicative of her needing a little bit of attention and that could be a red flag, well, then you're perfectly allowed. And you should find somebody who doesn't do that. So what I want you to understand is this is not about making rules for how society should live, for what women should do or shouldn't do. This is about you unapologetically owning who you are and setting a standard and maintaining it. If you drop below that standard, look around what happens. Walk down the street. Look, most men are walking with their wives beside them in their eyes. They are living a life of quiet desperation. You've been there. I've been there with my ex-wife. And again, not because you're a bad person, not because she is, because of a fundamental lack of compatibility. So make sure she's happy with just your attention, not that of plenty of other men, because the probability that infidelity is going to occur if she has the desire for a lot of attention is tremendously higher. Next one. It sounds silly, but it's kind of obvious. Does she have bad habits? Vaping, other substances. And by the way, if you live in a country where that's legal, fine, go ahead, do that, right? But if there are certain obvious bad habits, and by the way, that could also relate to her friends having bad habits, if she has close people in her life who are engaging in all kinds of behaviors that might not be legal or conducive to long-term health and flourishing, you may want to cut that sooner rather than later, because that is a ticking time bomb. These are just 5. Or how would you inverse that now to the opposite? Does she engage in healthy habits? Now, that doesn't mean that just because she goes to Pilates and yoga and she drinks matcha, she's super healthy and she's automatically right for you. No. You have to understand what you want. And by the way, that may not necessarily be a woman who goes to therapy actively. Great, I think, go, that's amazing. But maybe you want a woman who's never needed to go to therapy to begin with. Ever thought about that? Yeah, that hit, didn't it? Now, not to say that there's anything wrong with going to therapy. It's amazing if you find the right therapist, keeping in mind that all competence hierarchies are like a pyramid. Most people are at the bottom and very few are at the top. If you find a good one, these people are absolute unsung heroes of society. And they can make your life or their lives a lot better. So I'm not judging that. But she either actively goes there, she's in personal development, or she just naturally has an amazing brain and she was raised like a beautiful person. The last one, and one of the most important red or rather green flags, is appreciation or a lack thereof. Is she entitled? How many Gucci handbags does she demand? How early on? Or how much appreciation does she have for little things? Is she equally happy going to Burger King as opposed to a 5-star Michelin restaurant? Does she have appreciation for little things, or does she constantly need to be spoiled? And that's not to say that you can't enjoy fancy things in life. That's fine. You do, I do, we all do. But does she need it? Or does her happiness come from being with you? So, if you're a man who's doing well in your career or your business, and you really want to find the right woman to share life with, click the link underneath this video or in my bio and apply for a free initial consultation. Looking forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.